Okay, so in the first section of the stats unit, we talked about what a population is versus a sample. Remember that we had that diagram where we had our sample, and then we pulled some random people out of it. I'm sorry, we had our big population, and we pulled those people out of it, and we looked at whether these 5 people were representative of the people in the sample, of the people in the population. So we have to make sure that our sample is representative of the population. We talked about the 4 different kinds of sampling. We talked about convenience sampling, where it's just easy to get the people to talk to you. So convenience is whoever is easy to talk to. Self-selected is people opt in to participate. Systematic means we are choosing every 8th person, for instance, to talk to like ask a question or whatever. And then random is choosing a random person. So literally just somehow using a computer to randomly choose numbers or some other method to get answers for who we're going to talk to. Random sampling is typically the most effective and most accurate. It makes sure that you are getting a representative sample. As long as your sample is big enough, you can randomly choose, and we'll eventually get somebody who represents different types of people. And then it also just makes sure that you don't intentionally pick a group that is not representative of the sample, of the people, okay? So this just takes the people who you're choosing out of your hands, which is really what we want. Survey setup just means, okay, how are we sampling? Who are we asking? What questions are we asking? How might the setup of the problem of the survey affect the outcome? So that's really something that we need to be careful of. So that's really what we're talking about when we're looking at the types of sampling we're doing, types of questions we're asking, the ways that we're getting information from people, those types of things. Question asking practices, really you just want to avoid bias. And so we talked about how sometimes you can ask a question that has an opinion in it. And so we want to avoid that because that might convince other people that they should have that opinion too when they're giving you their responses, stuff like that. So that's what we're looking for when we're seeing what the questions say. When we talked about analyzing data, we did a bunch of different things, and I don't even think this is really a complete list. We talked about the measures of center, which are the mean, the median, and the mode. Hopefully you remember all of those things at this point. If not, go back and watch those videos. We talked about measures of spread, which are range, the interquartile range. So that's the quartile 3 minus the quartile 1 number. And that's how you get that. The standard deviation is a calculation that we'll just accept that we're going to use our calculator or Excel or Google Sheets or Desmos to do for us. Histograms are those plots that kind of look like this, where you have like a big old distribution that looks like this maybe. Maybe sometimes it looks a little bit like this. Okay, a box and whisker plot is the one that looks like this. Okay, and the box and whisker plot is the minimum. This is the first quartile. This is the median. This is the third quartile, Q3. And this is the max. Okay, data shapes, uniform. Uniform data looks like this, where all of them are about the same. And there isn't really a great pattern to what is happening. So this could be a uniform distribution. A left skewed data set looks like this, where there's a lot of data on the right side and then it kind of goes down towards the left side. So kind of like that. Right skewed is the opposite. It goes the other way. Something like that. Okay, and then normal distributions are symmetrical and bell-shaped, like that. Okay, so yeah, those are the data shapes. We want to try to stay with using mean and standard deviation when you're in a normal distribution. Sometimes if you have a skewed distribution, it's more appropriate to use the median or the IQR to talk about the center and range, center and spread. When you have a uniform data set, it's really helpful to talk about just the range, because if you know that the data is uniform, then you would expect most things to be basically even between all of the ranges. Okay, the last thing that we talked about previously was the empirical rule. And so if we think about our normal distribution, there it is, it's perfect, look at that. Here's where our mean falls, it's right in the middle. We call this X bar. If we go out one standard deviation away from the mean, we would expect to see 34% of the data on each side. In the next standard deviation away from the mean, we would expect to see, I gotta zoom in a little bit to make this work, 13.5% and 13.5% of the data. And then if we go another standard deviation away, that would be here. In there, we would expect to see 2.35% of the data. And if we go even further out, then we might see 0.15% of the data on the outsides. This applies for normal distributions, and this is what we might expect to see if a distribution is approximately normal. The empirical rule is usually written this way with 68, 95, 99.7, but that's really what these numbers all add up to. So this is that section. This is this section, and then this is this section. So we can see that we should have most of the data in all of those sections, you know, how it looks. The last part we got to do is comparing data sets, and that's the part that we're going to talk about today.